What's good, everyone? It's your boy Samson Locks coming back at y'all with another video. The time is near this Saturday, September 7th, man. The game we've been waiting on since last season. The LSU Tigers will be taking on the Texas Longhorns in Austin Saturday night on ABC. Let's jump right into this video so you can get my predictions on this game. I've decided to do things a little bit differently on this video. These are two teams of high caliber. It's the game of the week, two top 10 teams. So we're going to actually break this down and analyze this matchup before we give our prediction. Both teams had a game in week one. We're going to go over those. First with LSU, they played against Georgia Southern, a team from the Sun Belt. Finished it off with a W, 55-3. What more could you ask for playing against a small school? Total yards, 472 yards. Surprisingly, 350 of those were through the air. LSU is known as a power running team, but this is the new philosophy that Joe Brady has brought to this team. A more balanced attack, but actually focusing on passing. They have some dominant wide receivers waiting to be unleashed. Also, defensive yards. We know LSU is known for defense, giving up only 98 total yards last week, 24 passing and 74 on the ground. That's phenomenal. You can't get any better. Turnover battle. LSU was one of the best teams in turnovers last season. They forced two, both of them were fumbles, no interceptions, had a couple that were close. Didn't give up the ball in time of possession. One thing is an offense that you want to do. You want to control the clock. You want to wear down the other team. LSU always does a great job of that. And actually, it's a little bit surprising considering they were more of a hurry up team now, and they still dominated time of possession. Great first week for LSU. Moving on to the Longhorns, they played against La Tech, Louisiana Tech. They finished that with a win, 45-14, dominated the game in good fashion. Had 454 yards, a Tom Herman offense. What more do you expect? 301 through the air, 153 on the ground. The defense looked a little bit shaky. You know, as much as they dominated Louisiana Tech, the Texans were able to move the ball pretty well. 413 yards with 340 being through the air, only 73 on the ground. That's a stingy ground defense by Texas right there. And they actually forced 3 turnovers, and they gave up one on a fumble. Time possession 27-44. Tom Herman wants to do the same thing as the LSU offense. Up tempo, move the ball down the field through the air or the ground. It's going to be a pretty good matchup between the offenses and defenses. Now, while both of these teams have very talented rosters that are stocked with All-Americans, I believe this game could come down to the coaching battle. You have two phenomenal coaches that are known for their expertise in their areas. Dave Aranda, the defensive mastermind for the LSU defense, and Tom Herman, the head coach slash offensive coordinator for the Texas Longhorns. Both of these coaches are known for their particular schemes and their adjustments in game. We're going to analyze that a little bit. This season, Dave Aranda brings an attacking 3-4 scheme to the LSU defense, switching over from the 3-4 two-gap scheme that they ran in the previous 2 seasons. This will allow the Tigers to put more pressure on the quarterback and create havoc. They wanted emphasis on creating more turnovers this season. Also, it's well known that the Tigers defense holds one of the most valuable units in college football, otherwise known as DBU. Christian Fulton on the outside, Derek Stingley, whether it's All-American Grant Delpit at free safety, this defense is stacked with future NFL picks, and a couple of them will be first-round picks at the end of this year. Dave Aranda is known for making great adjustments in the second half. With that, it's a mean combo, man. This LSU defense is elite, it's phenomenal, and it could be #1 in the country. On the other hand, we have Tom Herman, the offensive guru. No matter what stop he's made, he consistently has his offense at least top 10 in the country, man. This power spread offense led by Sam Ehlinger is one that's pretty hard to stop. You have some amazing big body wide receivers on the outside like Duvernay and Colin Johnson. Although the Longhorns are short at running back, Ehlinger is a major threat with his legs, and I will look for him to open it up and possibly use some of that scrambling ability to create the rushing attack for the Longhorns. This offense can be highly potent, as we seen last season when the Longhorns took on Georgia. If they get in a rhythm and a groove and those wide receivers begin to find their spots and Sam Ehlinger is hitting on all cylinders, man, it could be a long night for LSU. After discussing the coaching battle, now we're going to talk about some impact players on both of these teams that could lead their team to victory. Starting with the Tigers on offense, it's obvious. Quarterback Joe Burrow. After his phenomenal game last week against Georgia Southern, the kid threw for 278 yards and 5 touchdowns, and this all happened within one half. If Burrow is accurate, if he commands the pocket, if he can read that Texas defense, do not be surprised to see the Tigers walk away with this game. Joe Burrow is a very heady player. He has the trust of all the coaches, he has the trust of his teammates, and he's just a winner, man. He's gritty, he's confident. Joe Burrow is obviously the choice for impact player on offense for LSU. For the Tigers on defense, we can touch so many spots because they have great players at each position. But we're going to go to outside linebacker slash defensive end, K'Lavon Chaisson, man. As I said earlier, Sam Ehlinger is a dangerous quarterback if you let him escape the pocket or if you give him time to make these throws to these great wide receivers. Chaisson will have to put consistent pressure on Ehlinger. If he can get in the backfield and cause havoc, I don't think Ehlinger would do so well under pressure throwing those balls up to an elite LSU secondary. If Chaisson has 3 sacks in this game or at least is in Ehlinger's face the whole night, once again, I look for an LSU win. Last but not least, the X factor for the Tigers. Freshman cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. Man, Stingley is a prototypical cornerback. This kid is 6'2", 200 pounds, extremely fast, 40-inch vertical. He's predicted to be the next great cornerback at LSU. In week 1, we saw a little bit of his talents. He was only thrown to about 3 times to no avail. There weren't any catches, and he showed what he can do in the punt return game. But Stingley will be tested early. Quarterbacks love to test true freshman cornerbacks, but if he can hold his own against one of those Texas wide receivers, I'm fully confident that Christian Fulton, an All-American cornerback on the opposite side of the field, can do the same. If Stingley shuts down his half of the field, LSU defense will have no problems. Now that we wrapped up with the Tigers on their impact players, let's move on to the Longhorns. Once again, Joe Burrow's counterpart, quarterback Sam Ehlinger. He's the impact player for Texas. He is the leader of that whole team. He showed in the Georgia game all last season and in his first game versus Louisiana Tech how dangerous he can be. He's a gamer. He's dangerous with his legs. He's dangerous with his arm. He somewhat reminds me of Tim Tebow. Now, I know that's a wily comparison because the stats don't add up, but if you have a more determined quarterback that's kind of big-bodied, when he runs the ball, man, he's like a freight train. He's not sliding. He brings the impact to defenders. He has a great arm and he allows his wide receivers to make plays. Sam Ehlinger obviously has to be an impact for Texas to win. Moving on to the Longhorns defense, we're going to talk about safety Caden Stearns. This kid is a phenomenal athlete. He reminds me of Grant Delpit. He plays the free safety spot. He plays the strong safety spot. He can drop down in the nickel. He may be even a slide out the corner. He's the captain of that defense. Only is a sophomore. Is a true freshman. This kid, I want to say, had over 60 tackles and 4 interceptions. He's one of the top safeties in the country. I'll put him in my top 5. He's a ball hawk. He loves to scan the field. He loves to come down and hit hard. Caden Stearns will have to watch out for these LSU wide receivers and even come up to make plays in the backfield. If he can read Joe Burrow's eyes and possibly just be a little bit deceptive to bait him into making a throw over the top, he can pick it off. I mean, this kid is fast. He can cover the width of the field. Caden Stearns, impact player, defense for Texas. Finally, we get to the X factor for the Texas Longhorns. That's going to be wide receiver Colin Johnson. Why do we pick Colin Johnson? He's a 6'6", 220-pound wide receiver with freakish speed, jumping ability, and great hands. If you did not watch the Louisiana Tech game, go back and look at that throw. Sam Ehlinger threw it on the sideline. It looked like it was going out of bounds, and Johnson lifts one leg and makes an acrobatic catch to keep one foot in bounds. I would not be surprised if Texas tries to create a mismatch with Johnson, placing him on true freshman cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. Now, size-wise, he's going to be a mismatch for everyone, but usually you will see quarterbacks, once again, pick on freshman cornerbacks. With a big body wide receiver like Johnson, you're going to want him against Derek Stingley to see can he live up to the hype. What will he do against a giant wide receiver that has about the same athletic ability as him? I look for Ehlinger to throw the ball to Johnson early in one-on-one matchups against Derek Stingley Jr. With everything we've discussed so far and everything that I have compiled into my notes, I'm predicting a 38-17 LSU victory. Now, obviously, that may not be the exact score, but I truly feel LSU is going to win this game. and I'll give you some final notes on why I think so. Offenses could be a wash. Yes, LSU is just beginning this offense, but it looked phenomenal yesterday, and I feel they can do enough against a Texas defense that didn't perform up to par last season. They did pretty good against Louisiana Tech, but they still gave up over 400 yards of offense. You're looking at an LSU team with some great five-star wide receivers and way more phenomenal athletes than Louisiana Tech. On the other hand, you have an elite LSU defense that is stingy. They will not give up a lot of points. They force turnovers. In Texas, the wide receivers are great. They can put up points. They can move the ball. But their running back situation, they are dealing with so much injuries and attrition that I feel they're going to be forced to throw the ball against LSU. I do not feel they will be able to run the ball. Ehlinger might escape for some scrambles, but with the monsters that LSU has on defense, I don't believe that Ehlinger running the ball a lot is something that you truly want to go on constantly in this game. It can end pretty ugly. Yes, I'm sure a bunch of Texas fans will not like my prediction, but hey, I'm not being biased. This is my true opinion. It could be a much closer game. It can go either way. These are two top 10 teams. But I thank you for looking at the video. Go ahead and comment in the section below. How do you feel this game will turn out? Who do you believe are the X factors on offense, defense, special teams, whatever you want to put? With that being said, it's your boy Samson Locks. Until next time, y'all check out this game, LSU versus Texas, this Saturday night on ABC. I'm out of here. Peace, y'all.